In 1950, Harry S. Truman had been president almost 5 years. Truman was vice president when Roosevelt died, and many people felt he would fail in the White House. They were wrong. From the start, the ex-senator from Missouri was one of our most able presidents, and one of our most decisive. In the early 50s, President Truman made 3 extremely difficult decisions. He committed American men and women to Korea. He authorized the development of the hydrogen bomb. And he stripped General MacArthur of all his commands for insubordination to the president. To many of us in 1951, MacArthur was our one hope for victory in Korea. And President Truman's action touched off a great national debate.
Reaction to MacArthur's dismissal comes swiftly. Republican Senator Wherry says,
"This is a tragic day for America. We do not know where we're going in Korea. We do not know where we're going in China. MacArthur knows, and he's been fired."
How do the people themselves feel?
Do you have any reaction to General MacArthur?
I heartily approve of what the president has done. It's a darn good move.
General MacArthur, well, I think he's a pretty good man. Do you agree with President Truman and what he did?
No. General's going to be a hard man to replace. It's not very good news at this time. And being a member of the armed forces myself, I am not going to make any statement that will go against government policy. They doing what they think is best.
The Republicans invited MacArthur to address a joint session of Congress. MacArthur came home to America for the first time in 14 years.
The world has turned over many times since I took the oath on the plain at West Point, but I still remember the refrain that old soldiers never die. They just fade away. And like the old soldier of that battle, I now close my military career and just fade away. An old soldier who tried to do his duty as God gave him the light to see that duty. Goodbye.
There was talk of drafting MacArthur for president in 1952, but the Republican convention nominated the other conquering general of World War II, Dwight David Eisenhower, and California Senator Richard Milhous Nixon, who had distinguished himself as a merciless red hunter. As Ike and Nixon met in Colorado to plan strategy and relax before the campaign, the Democrats nominated Adlai E. Stevenson, the witty, eloquent, and idealistic governor of Illinois, and Senator John Sparkman of Alabama. Eisenhower seriously considered dropping Nixon from the ticket when reports surfaced that while a senator, Nixon had illegally received $18,000 from California businessmen. A scared Nixon took his case to the public on national television.
I come before you tonight as a candidate for the vice presidency and as a man whose honesty and integrity has been questioned. Now, the usual political thing to do when charges are made against you is to either ignore them or to deny them without giving details. I believe we've had enough of that in the United States, particularly with the present administration in Washington, D.C. To me, the office of the Vice Presidency of the United States is a great office, and I feel that the people have got to have confidence in the integrity of the men who run for that office and who might obtain it. I have a theory, too, that the best and only answer to a smear or to an honest misunderstanding of the facts is to tell the truth. Pat doesn't have a mink coat, but she does have a respectable Republican cloth coat. And I always tell her that she'd look good in anything. One other thing I probably should tell you, because if I don't, they'll probably be saying this about me, too. We did get something to give after the election. A man down in Texas heard Pat on the radio mention the fact that our two youngsters would like to have a dog. And believe it or not, the day before we left on this campaign trip, we got a message from the Union Station in Baltimore saying they had a package for us. We went down to get it. You know what it was? It was a little Cocker Spaniel dog in a crate that he'd sent all the way from Texas. Black and white, spotted. And our little girl, Tricia, the 6-year-old, named it Checkers. And you know, the kids, like all kids, love the dog. And I just want to say this right now, that regardless of what they say about it, we're going to keep it.
The speech produced more than 1 million favorable letters and telegrams, and Nixon remained on the ballot. In November, the Republicans won 55% of the popular vote and most of the electoral votes on the strength of Ike's enormous popularity. During the Eisenhower years, the minimum wage was raised to $1. We began to build 42,000 miles of new interstate highways. The nation was immunized against polio. And our nuclear arsenal became staggering. In spite of Ike's heart attack in '55 and charges of being only a part-time president, the Republicans again nominated Eisenhower and Nixon in 1956. The Democrats went with Stevenson and Estes Kefauver of Tennessee.
Courage to follow in the great tradition of Jefferson, Jackson, Wilson, Roosevelt, and the man from Independence. Fellow delegates, I give you the man from Libertyville, the next Democratic nominee, and our next President of the United States, Adlai E. Stevenson.
The Democrats attacked Eisenhower's shaky health, Nixon's dubious character, and other issues of the decade.
I say that the first job of the new Democratic administration will be to restore common sense to American foreign policy, confidence to our friends and allies abroad, and vigor to our leadership in the world.
Once again, Ike piled up a huge majority. The 50s were a time when Americans were preoccupied with people watching. Smokey the Bear became the official spokesperson for fire prevention.
Okay.
Remember, only you can prevent forest fires.
Frank Sinatra married Ava Gardner in a secret ceremony in Philadelphia. Princess Elizabeth became Queen Elizabeth II when she was crowned in Westminster Abbey. Christine Jorgensen was voted Woman of the Year by the Scandinavian Clubs of New York. Film queen Grace Kelly of Philadelphia wed Prince Rainier of Monaco and quickly retired from movie making. Elvis Presley was drafted into the Army and traded his guitar for a size 42 khaki suit. At the end of the decade, the greatest rags-to-riches Cinderella story of all time came true when Bobby Soxer Farah Diba married the Shah of Iran.